Once polls start popping up in Michigan, Wisconsin, Ohio, Pennsylvania, among the Democratic primary, once these debates start happening, the first one I believe is in June in Miami. It's not guaranteed that Bernie and Biden will be on stage at the same time. Apparently, they're going to do a random draw. I don't trust the DNC to do anything with integrity, so they'll probably intentionally try to avoid having Bernie and Joe Biden on the same stage because Bernie would probably clean Joe Biden's clock. But once Joe Biden's full record, just like Hillary Clinton, on NAFTA, on banking, on deregulation, on being for the repeal of Glass-Steagall, on being for repealing derivatives, on being for deregulating the media industry, on drafting the crime bill, on gutting welfare, on the Patriot Act, on the bankruptcy bill. The list goes on and on and on. Once that full record is out, which it is not, it's out on social media. But trust me, the social media world and the progressive world we live in, the average voter isn't always consuming all of that. The average voter gets a lot of their information from the debates. The average voter gets a lot of their information from TV advertisements, digital advertisements. It's a long way to Iowa and New Hampshire and South Carolina. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Joe Biden is up. Even if the polls were more of an equal distribution, he would still be up. He was the vice president. Joe Biden is hugging Barack Obama for dear life. He is hugging him for dear life. It is embarrassing. But even older black voters, once they start hearing some of the things that he was saying about, keeping people in jail longer, and I don't want them near my mother. He wasn't talking about white folks. I think it's going to be a different ballgame. I also think he's up significantly because he has that post-announcement bump going on. So we'll see what happens. But I wanted to talk about electability because this narrative that, you're going to go with your heart or your brain? No, you could go with both. Your brain should tell you by the data and by the record, Joe Biden is a train wreck. He will lose to Donald Trump in those Midwest states. Make no doubt about it. Because Donald Trump is going to be able to expertly, he is a great salesman, say, I wasn't able to do X, Y, and Z because the deep state was fighting me with this cockamamie Russiagate conspiracy theory. And he is going to push that wall. He's going to say, you reelect me, we're going to make the wall happen. He is going to still appeal to those voters, even though he has not brought those plans back. So the only way that you beat Donald Trump is with the polar opposite of Donald Trump. The only one that's the polar opposite of Donald Trump is Bernie Sanders. I do like Tulsi Gabbard, but I'm going to keep it real. I don't see a pathway to her winning the Democratic nomination. It doesn't mean she doesn't have a pathway into a cabinet position, but as of this moment, I don't see the pathway. A lot of you might not like me saying that, but I'm just keeping it real. She's very, very low. I think she's at 1%. And it's by design. The media doesn't cover her, and when they do cover her, they made her out to be an Assad toady and a radical. I think she will have strong performances in the debates. I think she might convince more people over to her side through those debate performances. Whether that will translate to electoral victory in Iowa or New Hampshire is a whole other ballgame. So we'll see about that. The other thing is, on electability, Joe Biden is up significantly now with 22 candidates. There's not going to be 22 candidates by Iowa, New Hampshire, and South Carolina. There probably will be candidates that drop out before even Iowa. A lot of these candidates that are running that just announced, like Seth Moulton and Eric Stilwell and Tim Ryan and Senator Michael Bennet and New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio might be running. There's no purpose for them running other than raising their profile, this and that. They're probably not going to have the money to campaign all the way to Iowa and New Hampshire and South Carolina. So the field will probably shrink. When that field shrinks, do we expect those voters to go to Joe Biden or Bernie Sanders? Or maybe Mayor Pete, that profile in fraudulent progressiveness. Or Beto O'Rourke, another faux progressive. Or Kamala Harris, Hillary Clinton 2.0. We'll see. But when people drop out, their voters don't necessarily go to Bernie Sanders. Joe Biden. And also, you have to remember, Elizabeth Warren is still relatively low in those polls. I don't have any inside information, but you would have to think Bernie Sanders and her met before both of them announced. My gut is there's probably some type of discussion that went on about whether the other one would drop out if they were very low, if they just had no chance, were too low in the polls, so that they don't block the other one's path. I don't know that for a fact, but I would assume that conversation might have gone on. Same thing might go for Tulsi Gabbard and Bernie Sanders. So we'll see.